everybody. Welcome to the bonus episode. It is Francis and Nate, and special guest star, journalist, leftist, Twitch streamer, and young Turk, Hasan Piker. Hasan Piker, right? Yeah, I'm really bad.
Yep, that's correct.
I really should be asking. I for whatever reason I wanted to say Hasan Parker, and like my brain was immediately like, that's not right. Why would you say that? And then
it's not even spelled that way.
I know it's not. It's also kind of like how every time I see the Young Turks, for whatever reason, my brain turns it into the Fine Young Cannibals, because my brain is so fucked from like 20 years in the military that like the synapses have been like shaken in a weird way. So anyway, Hasan, how are you? Welcome to the chat in which Nate and I discuss how we're slowly deteriorating.
I mean, aren't we all, right? That's kind of everyone's reality at this point. Definitely mine as well. But I'm doing all right. Living, taking things day by day, trying to survive, ducking and dodging potential future Republican veteran interactions that I might have in public. So,
yes, Hasan, we brought you on here to ask you, why don't you love the troops?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I love the troops. I'm obviously on a troop podcast, right? Isn't this a troop podcast?
It is.
It is, in fact.
Yeah, I love the troops so much. I just don't want to I don't know. I guess I don't love them as much as the Republican Party wants us to love them, or claims that they love them.
Well, we actually had this conversation earlier today when we recorded our main podcast, in which the Republicans love the troops and the Democrats are constantly trying to do a "we love the troops too" kind of thing, except that their troops are like slightly less reactionary. It's like,
and also the moment that the troops become inconvenient to something like that Donald Trump does, Trump's base is just like, no, fuck the troops. We hate the troops. We're Antifa now.
Does anyone remember like the John Kerry campaign, or does anyone remember when Donald Trump, said what he said about John McCain, which, by the way, I think slaps pretty hard. I didn't really have like that big of a problem with that statement, but.
Yeah, I mean, John McCain, he built his entire career off of the sort of like decency lib, respectability lib phenomenon that they were so easily cowed by people with, badges and awards. And Donald Trump, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's an asshole and he fucking sucks, but there was a weird kind of like dark irony to watching how much people thought that his campaign would collapse for having disrespected John McCain, and then you realize that his base doesn't give a shit. That if he says it's fun to make fun of the troops, then they just all do it and they're okay with it.
And they have done it. They've done it always. Like it's a constant thing that they can, I guess, turn on and off whenever they feel like it. Like if the troop is a lib, then that person is no longer a troop. That person no longer deserves the respect that all troops deserve automatically.
That person has stolen valor.
I do love getting begrudgingly like, well, I thank you for your service, but you're a dirty fucking socialist, and I will throw you from a helicopter. Like, you know what? The Army has the helicopter, so you don't have shit. So don't even try, all right?
Yeah.
So, Hasan, I guess I wanted to talk through your fabled encounter with a certain Dan Crenshaw, because you found yourself in that arena of what happens when they conjure up their like manufactured outrage about, somewhere, somehow a troop and or a cop is getting disrespected.
Yeah, it's just Republican identity politics. I'd rather have them do that, though, honestly, than do like white identity politics, which is just straight up being a Nazi. So like I'd rather have them engage in like troop disrespect outrage than like, white people are being ethnically cleansed because miscegenation is happening all around us. Like that's like, I think those are like the different layers of Republican identity politics. But what happened to me is I was watching Joe Rogan talk to Dan Crenshaw and being Joe Rogan, just totally just eat up everything that Dan Crenshaw was saying, and the things that he happened to say were horrific in regards to justifying endless warfare all around the world, justifying like military bases everywhere, and that America has to be the America World Police, and that these people just hate us because they hate us. Like completely oblivious jingoism that is the reason why we are. The reason why there's so much conflict in the Middle East to begin with and so much conflict all around the world, as a matter of fact. So seeing that, I was very upset. And I said a multitude of things. One of them was disrespecting Dan Crenshaw when he talked about like the necessity for endless war, and said that, like, military bases are actually diplomacy. And I said, wow, this person went to war, got injured, like experienced a grave injury, barely had his eyesight after that, like when an IED exploded. I didn't say these details, but I'm just like, I know what the details are, obviously. And instead I said, didn't this guy learn how terrible war is? I'm paraphrasing. Didn't this guy learn how terrible war is after a brave mujahideen, fucked his eye hole or whatever? And it was a direct reference, of course, and I'm sure you guys, as irony poison leftists, are aware of, was a direct reference to Ronald Reagan when I said the brave mujahideen. But
I figured it was a reference to the beginning of Rambo 3.
Yeah, Rambo 3. Well, the Rambo 3 is a reference to Operation Cyclone. So that's why that was what it was. That was what I was referencing. And every irony poison leftist, of course, understands that, because it's like in our vernacular at this point. But
you would think that Dan Crenshaw would be proud to be compared to favorably to Rambo, but
yeah,
something Rambo-ish.
No, well, the thing is, look, if we're being fully honest here, Dan Crenshaw knows it was a joke. He said it as much, but he also definitely still fed into the media cycle, the outrage cycle. He is really media savvy. He loves going on these shows, and the Fox News basically gave him an opportunity to for 48 hours talk about how not triggered he was and how triggered I was. Actually, as a matter of fact, like, he wasn't triggered at all, and the only thing that upset him was the fact that Google was supporting terrorism or whatever he was. I mean, he was just like, I'm not taking you seriously, but also we should take you seriously. Like, that's basically what he was doing.
Yeah, because I mean that's kind of feeding into an audience that wants to be outraged, and even if he knows what he's doing, even if he's not personally offended by it, it's basically handing the bait to the sort of like Daily Callers of the world, or Twitchy, or whatever the fuck the like Michelle Malkin kind of shit is. Yeah. Those people live to be outraged and to claim that like the decadent libs are disrespecting our heroes or whatever. And so, even if they all say it with a wink, they're still going to say it, and it's still going to like make Fox News grandpas go insane.
Yeah, and it did. But not just Fox News grandpas either. Like, there are a lot of people in the military that reached out to me and told me they were going to execute me. So,
Jesus.
Which is kind of weird, because I thought you guys were out there fighting a good fight for my freedom of speech, right? Isn't that what they always say? I thought they were like knocking down doors and making sure that like some random like pedophile warlord or whatever is who herds goats on his weekends is no longer a serious threat to American freedom of speech.
Turning our backs on bachi-bazi parties so that you can say that America deserves 9/11. That's what I went over there for. That's what I fought for. So,
well, no, actually, I think that your freedoms themselves, your freedom of speech, got lost, and it wound up inside a pressure cooker in some mud castle in Afghanistan. And so we've got to go find it, but we don't know which ones. We've got to kick in every door in that country until we find your freedom of speech, which has unfortunately been wedged inside this pressure cooker.
Look,
some of them
we also haven't found the WMDs yet. I mean, so I think we should keep looking for them. Obviously, they're out there somewhere. So.
Yeah. So this whole scandal played out, and they lost their minds, and right-wing people lost their minds, and that sucks, and it pisses me off that folks from the military reached out. I mean, to be honest with you, I've published stuff before, sort of like retrospective on the war, saying like the war fucking sucks and it's a war of occupation and it accomplished nothing. And I've gotten similar stuff, but like obviously it's not to the same degree. When you get called out like by name by all of like the online rage clickbait outlets, that's just driving the armies of these like disaffected weirdos to send you shit.
Yeah,
but.
I mean, it's not real. It's like none of it's real. No one's gonna like. I mean, maybe someone might try and kill me. Who knows? But I've gotten death threats my entire career in political commentary, and at first it was shocking. At first, people would send me like photos of themselves, like very stupid ways too. Photos of themselves where they're holding up guns and stuff. Explicit fantasies about how they're going to torture me, murder me, my family, and doxing operations, all of it. Like I'm pretty used to it at this point. And the thing is, like, at first I was terrified of it when it first started happening, but now at this point I'm like, I'm a seasoned vet of the culture wars, I guess. And I don't really, I know that they're just like cowards behind a keyboard, and they're just expressing their outrage in that moment against the left and all the things that like liberals, which I'm not even one of the liberals, but liberals and the libs and the violent but also simultaneously soft left represents. Like, they're just expressing all of their outrage at that, and that's the vehicle to deliver that through.
We're gonna do a Hasan Piker convention where you let all the haters can come to Temecula to fight you.
Yeah, I mean there will be people probably. I mean, there's some sites.
Well, I mean, when Lil Nas X like faked out and said that he was he like gave the address to like a correctional facility in the middle of the desert in California and said, "Hey, I'm playing here tonight. Like, come and meet me." Like, people legitimately drove out there, and they're like, "What the fuck? This is just a prison in the desert." And he's like, "I'm a troll. Sorry, I have to apologize." And so, in the same way, if you said, "Meet me in these desert coordinates," I'm sure that like some asshole with like USMC tattooed on his ass cheeks would show up and try to fight you, even though you weren't actually there. But I got to ask the question though. This seemed like it was different. I mean, I know that you're like no stranger to controversy with these kinds of things, and obviously like being prominent, being a leftist, having a name that makes people think, oh, you're an immigrant, like that. That's the kind of thing where people get angry at you. But it seemed like this one was different.
Yeah, it was the perfect storm. I think it was like there was a media cycle that was desperate for some new controversy. I'm outspoken leftist who's also a Muslim. So it was just perfect. Like, look, it's a 6-hour broadcast. I'm talking about a variety of different issues in regards to American foreign policy. At certain points, I get heated. If you take the joke out of context, and if you take the 9/11 comment out of context, I see why it's like a perfect media shitstorm. Basically, I get it. I mean, it's like handing it to them in a silver platter. And they don't really need to do too much. They just have to like cut certain parts of it out, which is exactly what they did. To make it seem like I was a supporter of Al Qaeda and a supporter of the Mujahideen, and that I wasn't actually criticizing America for like literally offering arms and structural and material support to these groups, and also the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which then ends up arming these groups.
Yeah, because the thought crossed my mind that people talk about this stuff. When I was in Afghanistan, one of the things that you'd find yourself having, or like these conversations with people, like sometimes it would be Afghan military, but sometimes it would just be like people that you'd meet, that were like working in district or government centers or things like that, and they'd be like, why do you guys give money and weapons to the Taliban? And your garden variety American soldiers like, no, we don't. But if you know what's going on, they're like, yes, you do. Like, you guys give money to Pakistan, and they give it to the Pakistani ISI, and the ISI like legitimately like owns weapons caches all up and down the country, and they give it to the Pakistani Taliban, and they some of those guys migrate over to Afghanistan, or they just give it straight up to like the people who cross the border and come to fight Americans every summer. And it's like, even a dude who can barely read and write his own name knows that if he's from Afghanistan. But Americans want to think that that it's just, I don't know, like a lack of conviction, and that like the libs were just stabbing the troops in the back, and that's why we can't win the war. When it's like, we've basically been paying both sides, and we have been doing it for so long that like it's very possible that like bullets and RPGs that got shot at me when I was there were paid for with like my parents' tax dollars from when I was an infant.
Oh,
because 100%. It's been going on that long.
100%, exactly. I mean, that's
so
precisely the point I was making, that they just completely cut out.
well, yeah. It's like because if you get down to it, like what you're saying isn't controversial, but if you want to, like you said, take it in bad faith and be a dumbass, you can make some outrage clips, but it's, to me, like step one of understanding why the situation in Afghanistan and America's presence around the world is so fucked to begin with involves being honest about the fact that like we've supported some terrible people, sometimes when our support has literally like armed and trained the people who then went on to kill American soldiers.
Yeah.
And
well, that's the most flagrant hypocrisy. I mean, there's obviously additional elements to it as well, like the destabilizing effect that we've had in all of the in that region as a whole since like the 50s and 60s. Like that is impactful because obviously, like, you know, Osama bin Laden isn't operating alone. It didn't 9/11 didn't happen in a vacuum. Like there are plenty of people who fucking hate America, and they hate America because America like blew their cousin away or something. You know what I mean? And that's like the unique situation that we face that we are facing currently with negotiation talks or peace talks with the Taliban, for example, which is like the Taliban grew even though you guys were out there literally fighting them, but they grew because because it was much easier for them to recruit when there is like an actual enemy in their eyes.
Well, also, I was wondering, Hasan, have you ever heard? Francis and I talked about this a bunch today on the episode that we recorded. That's going to come out on Thursday of this week, so that'll be on the 13th. I'm wondering though if you've talked about this on your show before about Navy SEALs in particular, because Dan Crenshaw was a Navy SEAL. About some of the shit, because what we talked about on the show today was that basically anyone whoever was deployed and who did missions, like who went on patrols, was doing something involved with like going outside of bases, pretty much has a horror story about a situation that they had to clean up after because the SEALs flew in by night and murdered a whole house of people. They might have gone there and killed an insurgent or somebody who they thought was an insurgent, but they also killed everybody else in the house who between ages 12 and 80, and then to an Afghan or to a civilian in Yemen or Syria or anywhere, they can't differentiate between cool guys with fucking bino nods and regular ass American soldiers. We're all just Americans in uniform, and so it winds up being a huge recruiting tool for insurgents because rightfully these people are furious because we've sent guys in, they've murdered their families, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. And all these other Americans they encounter are just like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like they just play dumb because they don't know anything, because obviously we don't control the SEALs. And so for me, recently, like seeing what happened with you kind of getting put through the ringer, and I know you can handle it, but it's just annoying. But then also seeing Dan Crenshaw like going on social media and complaining about how if they strike a peace deal with the Taliban, that's gonna empower the people who did 9/11. And it's like, Dan, you of all people fucking know that the Taliban or the people that put your eye out had nothing to do with 9/11. That by this point. By this point in the war, we're just fighting people who are rightfully pissed off that they have an unrepresentative government propped up by an occupying military. And most of the fighters you'd go fight in the fighting season by this point were probably infants or toddlers when 9/11 happened.
Oh yeah. Or if even born. I mean, you think about it, at this point it's September 10th. So 9/11 is just about to be 18 years old. 9/11 can now go vote and go join the army and go die in itself at this point. The Afghan war. And yet there's no one there. Like, you're not fighting old men. There are no old men in Afghanistan. Or if there are, they are not necessarily fighters. Because they're not out
on the battlefield, yeah.
We are very good at killing people. But the thing is that this is not a war of attrition. This isn't, once the murder bots kill, 50,000 insurgents, then we all go home because we won the war. Like, Dan Crenshaw has probably created more terrorists than he has ever killed. Like 100% will believe that.
That was actually the second part of my criticism too, by the way. You're absolutely correct on that, obviously. But the second part of my criticism is like, Dan Crenshaw is literally like stopping bills from passing that would block us from selling arms to Saudi Arabia. And those arms have been like reported to get into the hands of Al Qaeda. So if you're genuinely upset, and those aren't the same guys that
Osama bin Laden was Saudi.
But it's like
Osama bin Laden was a Saudi. 15% of the 15 of the hijackers were Saudi. Like, it fucking just destroys my brain every time like I see this. Like, well, then the people who did 9/11, it's like I can't even fucking with you, because like it's either every Republican is either lying or stupid. And
Dan Crenshaw is lying. Like Dan Crenshaw is lying when he votes nay on bills that would block the arms sales to Saudi Arabia. He is more responsible for continued bloodshed than anyone else. Like, and it's so shocking to me that he can sit there and cry about the Taliban and peace talks with the Taliban while simultaneously arming Al Qaeda. Like, it just makes no sense. And obviously, the Taliban aren't great dudes either. But we are responsible with our with all of the things that you just mentioned. We are responsible for the Taliban's growth and success in the region. Aside from, obviously financial and structural support that they receive from the other nations that we also prop up. So we give them a justification for continued warfare. We give them weapons in some instances. We give them cash indirectly, and then we act like it just happened because they hate America, like out of nowhere.
Yeah, and nothing makes me angrier than seeing that stuff so deliberately conflated. On one hand, I realize when it's just like people who live in America and just have viewed and received American news, because it's obviously like it flattens and simplifies things. But people who do know better, who are deliberately misleading people because they have defense manufacturing industries in their congressional districts or whatever, like that kind of shit. It really starts to sound like the most crackpot conspiracy theories. But at a certain point, you run out of any other justification, because if you have a level head about things, and if you're reading the facts as they exist, there's no way you can look at Afghanistan and be like, A, this is sustainable, or B, we're gonna win. And so, like, we talk about this on What a Hell of a Way to Die all the time, about, like, the reason why we support this peace process, even though, granted, the Taliban fucking suck, is that the idiot right-wing politicians are going to say, oh, well, we can't just let them wait us out. It's like, dude, they live there. They're from Afghanistan. Like, we're gonna leave at some point. And so you've got to come to an agreement that at least allows the Taliban to be a participant in the government in some capacity, because if you cut them out of the government and they have no access to power, then they're just going to achieve power through violence. And it's like, so these people that just, they always want to hype up this link to 9/11 as if to say the same guys who are fighting a war against a government that's been imposed upon them, that confine their fight solely to Afghanistan, the tribal regions of Pakistan, and, like, to a small extent, parts of Pakistan outside of the border provinces. Like, those people are somehow transnational terrorists. As like, oh, and by the way, ignore all the other shit that actual transnational terrorists are doing, definitely with American arms and equipment, and oftentimes with support.
Yeah. It's a good way to, I mean, that black and white framing is just nothing but manufactured consent. That's all it is. And you have to do that if you want to justify endless bloodshed, if you want to justify endless war. And what always strikes me as remarkable is the fact that, like, this bloodshed has an American toll as well. Not like just an economic toll, but also nearly 7,000 American citizens have died.
Yeah.
Like, if in the past 18 years. Isn't that enough? Like, when is that going to end? Shouldn't that end at some point? Am I crazy? Like, that's what I'm frustrated by.
And so I'm wondering too, because I mean, you've supported our show, and you've made comments to me in the past that, like, you don't look at people that have served in the military and then realized how fucked it is and have spoken out against it. Like, you acknowledge that people have changed their minds, and I'm wondering, like, has your opinion changed? Like, has this been, like, weird for you because you've gotten that fucking hate spiral of all these assholes? And also the follow-up to that would be, like, have you also, like, talked to veterans who agree with you that, like, this shit is fucked?
No, of course not. Yeah, no, I have. Look, I have some incredibly close friends that were in the Marines. Like, I've always had veteran friends that either understand what we did after serving, or even, like, active duty military members who are in my fan base who have no issue with the things that I mentioned. Like, it's a job. It's incredibly predatory, like the way that they target, like, underprivileged youth and like, black and brown kids, basically, and dupe them into service. But It's also incredibly exploitative in the sense that, like, you know, they're taking advantage of all of the structural and material inequalities that we have currently in America, like not having access to future opportunities, like being able to pay for college. So if you go to the military, you'll get a college degree, you know, or at the very least, you can get a Camaro. Like it is a really harmful and exploitative situation that they subjugate a bunch of young men and women to. That they subject, sorry, a bunch of young men and women to. So I sympathize with that. I understand it. So I don't like harbor resentment. I'm not like some fucking crazy like Maoist third worldist or whatever who's just like, oh, you're a murderer, you're like a baby killer, like if you were in the military. That's not my like automatic position, and it never has been. I see it as it's a job. It's not a good job. It's a very tough job. And the outcomes of that job are not great. They're pretty terrible for the most part. Especially if you you know are even like heavily specialized, or if you're like a Navy SEAL or whatever, you do deal with a lot of death and destruction, and that's not great. But it's not like there's like a forced draft. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like these are people who are like, I mean, you guys as well. I don't know. I would love to hear why you guys joined the service, but people just say, hey, for one reason or the other, like I'm gonna go and join. I want to join the American military, whether it's because of pride, because you're a patriot, because you love your country, or because you were duped at some point. And so I have a lot of sympathy. I don't think that like you're an automatic baby murderer just because you served, but it also definitely means like I'm not gonna respect you just because you served. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Francis, you were going to say something.
Well, I mean, I was just going to say that I joined because I wanted to be all that I could be, and then they changed the motto, and then I was fucking pissed.
Yeah.
I do say that I enjoyed the close-up parking at Lowe's, though, where it's for veterans only. That's why I did it, is for the discounts.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get look, one of my main moderators is a trans military veteran. Okay? And she no longer has access to the VA. Like she absolutely despises the Department of Defense. I mean, especially considering that she's trans, right? So
yeah,
like seeing that and seeing so many veterans get fucked over by the American government, like how can you still sit there and be like, no, we want the little like Lowe's parking spot, and then everyone just respect us by default. It's okay if I can't pay for insulin. Like, as long as I get, you know, $2.50 off watching the latest, like, Avengers movie on a Tuesday, then it's fine.
Yeah, and you know, the private companies are going to do whatever they want to do, but, you know, it certainly does come down to the American government will grab you and put you into a grinder, and to be fair, when it comes to grinders, it's not the worst one because you get some decent benefits out of it. And if you get one of those jobs that doesn't require you to get shot at on a regular basis, it's not too bad. But if you do come out of that grinder all fucked up, then it just kind of spits you out on the streets. And it's like, yeah, we have, you know, the VA is good in some places, and the VA is helpful to a lot of people. But like, there certainly is I guess, disposableness to the American soldier, and we talked about it, you know, today as well, that there's military bases that are, you know, covered in mold. There's housing that has had windows boarded up for months and months and months, that have like children and spouses of military families living inside of these hovels. Basically, I certainly have stayed in my share of places that are absolutely disgusting. And also, we have a lot of soldiers who are coming out saying, hey, you know what? All these burn pits are actually giving me cancer, and there's nothing that the military is really going to do about that. And so whenever I hear we need to support the troops, we need to do this or that for the troops, it's like, cool, do that. But I never see anything. It's always in conjunction with, you want to do something about the refugees. Well, what about the troops? You want to do something about the homeless. Well, what about the homeless troops? You know, the troops end up becoming this like, well, we need to help them first. It's like, cool, we can do that. We can do both. But also, we probably should have been doing that for years. Like, if in 2019, after 18 years of war, you're still crossing your arms and cinching up and saying, well, we got to help the troops first. Like, bitch, we've had an opportunity to do that, and we haven't. And if you're still going to sit here and try to pretend like the government has any sort of, positive, any positive, like, push forward on this, I regrettably inform you that they do not. All they want to do is take us and use us and continue the Ponzi scheme that is the military-industrial complex.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I hate it. I came back from my last deployment, went to a baseball game, and when the Cardinals hit a home run, there were fireworks, and I had a massive panic attack and tried to climb over about 10 people. That was cool. That was a war that really shouldn't have happened, and it was all fucked up from it.
Fuck's sake, man.
Yeah. And my father told me later, he was just like, and my father's a veteran. My father he wasn't in combat overseas. He was in combat during race riots in Kansas City in the 60s. But he was just like, dear God, I thought that the fucking government had broken my son. And I was like, kind of, they did, Dad. They really fucking did. But it's okay because now I'm a socialist, just like he is. So it all kind of worked out in the end. Just took a little bit of time and a lot of drinking.
Yeah. That, like, what you just described is exactly the reason why I get kind of annoyed with people who are like, oh, you spit on a veteran or whatever. Like, there's a very small portion of the left that actually unironically is playing out that meme that right-wingers try to strawman the entirety of the left as. And it does frustrate me a little bit, but it's not like, I mean, they're few and far between. They're not like, they're not representative. I wouldn't consider myself to be a part of that either. I don't know. I just like, it just sucks. Like, I really hate the way we treat veterans in this country, but I also at the same time am constantly conflicted because, like, if we don't break through this like troop respect mentality that justifies all of the awful acts that we like all of the violent things that we do around the world, because it's like the same part of it's like same cycle of like that same cycle of military violence and like American imperialism and justification of American imperialism. If we don't break through that somehow through humor and through instances like this, like how else are we going to ever get Americans to realize, like, no, it's just, this is a really shitty job. The outcomes are really shitty. We should probably not have it anymore in the way that we do.
And I feel the way that we do that is that, people like to say, it's not about the troops. Like, sure, the troops, but also like literally everybody else. Also, the homeless who didn't join the military, or the
people with PTSD who didn't join the military but who have it and suffer from it,
right? And like, who need like, because I can get help from my PTSD, and I have gotten help from my PTSD. But like, if you're not a member of the military, there's not necessarily, and you don't have healthcare, you don't have access to mental health or a psychiatrist. Guess what? You're fucked. And you just get to self-medicate with that the best way that you can. And generally, that's not a winning combination there. And so what it comes down to is that it's not like I joke about how I like the 10% discount at Lowe's, but like, honestly, if that went away, and also in came like housing for everybody and Medicare or universal health care, and making sure that everybody in this country is taken care of, and making sure that refugees and immigrants and all that are taken care of, that's fine. I'll get rid of that. Like, you don't have to respect me. Fucking just respect everybody else. Like, that's all that we need.
I wanted to jump in. Because there was a thing that came to mind, when you were describing the story. So one of my soldiers, when I was deployed, got blown up, and he got hurt pretty bad. He recovered, but like he got like a Purple Heart and everything, and he wound up getting out of the military, and he had been married when he was in the military. He had a kid, and he wound up getting out and like working at Target. And at first he told me, he was like, I was definitely down the road of reading right-wing memes on Facebook and being furious, and like, reading like Drudge Report and The Blaze and shit, and just being furious. But then the thing that kind of broke through to him was realizing, like, he was able to go to community college on the GI Bill and get into school and then go to like a 4-year college and get a degree, and now he's got a job and like his life is stable. And he realized the only thing that got him out of the hole that he was in, where like basically everything that he earned from Target was going to childcare for his daughter because he and his wife had split up. Like, he would never have escaped that trap if it hadn't been for the money you get, A, from disability, and B, from the GI Bill. And so, like, it was weird, but being in those circumstances and realizing, like, this program that the government's giving me is the only thing that makes me able to, like, escape this grinding life that I'm in right now and get into something better. And I'm the only reason I have this because I'm in the military, and none of these other people I deal with in my life have it. Like, not a lot of people have that kind of like eye-opening moment, but he did. And that's the thing that I feel like if there's any sort of like guiding principle that we have, is that most of our fans, to be honest with you, on our show, like, aren't military. Most of them are civilians that just like are kind of interested in the military. And that's like the thing that we're constantly trying to drill into them, is that instead of this idea that what we did was like this, so, it was like super, you have to respect it, but it's like so impossible to understand. It's like, no, imagine getting shot at, except in New Mexico, and you work at a job that's basically like the post office, but with guns. Like, it's not that different. It's not like you can't comprehend it. And I worry sometimes, and I feel like your experience with the thing with Dan Crenshaw is an example of this, that like people, even if it makes no sense, even if there's no like actual political goal, they want to venerate the military. And it's like what Francis said, just so they can shut down the argument that anyone deserves anything better. And that freaks me out, and it annoys the fuck out of me, because like, we're going to yell as loud as we possibly can, like, no, that we don't want that. Like, that's not good. And yet it seems as though the only response we ever get is, no, we have to respect the troops. The troops deserve X, Y, and Z, and that's why we can't have Medicare for all.
And
yeah.
Nate
and they can't either, and you guys can't either, and we should probably privatize the VA, but also respect the troops.
Nate and I could fill hours of podcasting talking about absolutely shitty soldiers that deserve nothing other than to be.
I was just about to say that. Yeah. Like, it's like, it's crazy. Okay, I mean, if you served, better than anyone else, and this is like my experience with my friends who served, that like there are a lot of fucking shitty troops. Okay, they don't deserve respect at all. They're just shit people. Like, they're shit people. They did a shit job. And they're still like incredibly shitty people right now. And even right-wing troops would probably agree with that as well when they're talking about you guys, for example. So like,
or they'll make the argument that like nobody deserves like benefits because people just be lazy, and the reason why they'll base that is like, oh, because when I was in the military, everyone just tried to milk the system and fucking be lazy. And it's like, so what you're basically saying is that even in an environment that you guys think is like the land of true warriors, there's people who fucking, milk the system and like shirk stuff. And maybe that's just like human nature, but they don't seem to want to like acknowledge that.
Yeah. I just don't I don't understand how you could serve and then not realize like, no, these are just regular human beings and some of them are shitty, and asking for respect across the board is like kind of a weird concept and kind of stupid. When they themselves don't really respect all the other troops either.
I say, just because I was able to sign on the dotted line at the age of 17 doesn't mean that I wasn't a complete dipshit. I'm 36 now, so I'm about 20 years removed from that dumbass who signed up for the military. And I just like, man, that kid was dumb. And not because he joined the military. He was just dumb. He was 17. What the fuck were you letting him do? Sign up 8 years of his fucking life like that. Makes no damn sense.
Yeah. No, it's pretty messed up, but we've built this like endless grift. It's great. A lot of districts, as you mentioned earlier, are financially tied to the continuation of endless war. They have military bases, or they have private enterprise that is building weapons for war. We have to use them somewhere, right?
Yeah.
We're literally, when the war is not enough, we use it domestically. It's just awful all around. We have so much.
That I want.
Wait, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, please. Finish your thought.
The thing I was going to say is like we have so much manpower, so much money in this like government jobs program, basically, and it sucks. It hurts to see that this this gigantic government's jobs program exclusively focuses on death, destruction, and murder, rather than, I don't know, rebuilding our infrastructure or literally anything else.
We have a racism wall to build on the southern border, so you'll have to understand that some of those government infrastructure things have to be put to the wayside.
We were actually joking about that this morning, that when we were recording, that like it's hilarious because the one time Republicans don't lose their fucking minds when Congress diverts money that's supposed to go to the military is when Trump basically steals money that would go to like making sure people don't get electrocuted in the showers and barracks so he can build the racism wall. It's like they would normally literally be like setting themselves on fire in the streets because someone's trying to, you know, reduce the amount that the Pentagon's budget gets increased every year. But with Trump, it's like, nah, whatever. But the point that I find that people, because the numbers are so insane, because you have like a defense budget that's literally like $770 billion, people lose perspective on how much money it is. And I think that's true of, you know, when you try to like quantify how much $1 billion is when it, you know, a human being has that in their fucking bank account versus $1 million, you can kind of create the same comparisons. But the thing that I remember tweeting about this years ago, and people responded positively to it. And I just try to like say this when I talk about the extent to which this whole last 18 years has been a disaster, is that, so I got offered a scholarship when I was in high school to go to Indiana University and do Army ROTC. So it was after 9/11, before the Iraq War, when I got offered this, and I accepted it. And so they paid for, you know, 4 years of school, and they gave me like a small stipend when I was in school. And then I had I spent 7 years in the Army. I signed a contract at the end of college that obligated me for a longer time, and which was stupid on my part, but then also it wound up qualifying me for the GI Bill, which if you're an officer, you don't get until you've gone past like you have to pay back the years that you were in college, basically, like by serving, before you can earn further benefits. Right. So it's not that you don't have your salary. You get paid. It's just that you don't get benefits like the GI Bill until you've been in long enough. So like if like a West Pointer has to be in the Army 5 years before they can start earning GI Bill. Anyway, I spent it 7 years, so I got the GI Bill. And so I went to grad school for 2 years in New York, and like I got housing stipend and all that shit, and school was paid for. And then I still have a couple years left, like because you get a total of 4 years. And so if I'd wanted to, I could have stayed in and done a PhD. And the school I was looking at doing that at was also a public school, or like state school. So would have been covered on the GI Bill. And so I broke down the math, and I was like, okay, here was my tuition for each semester as an undergrad. Here was my tuition for and living stipend as a grad student. And here's what take that money and then add 4 more years of that for grad school, so I do a PhD. If you take all of that money, it came out to something like $290,000. It's a lot of money. A Humvee, a single fucking Humvee, is valued at $300,000. And a single Humvee that we gave to like the Iraqi army that then got taken over by ISIS, and then so we had to drop a fucking $500,000 missile or bomb on that Humvee to blow it up after it had been stolen by ISIS, is basically coming close to 3 full suites of education from someone from undergrad all the way through PhD. That's just one Humvee and one missile. Imagine how many fucking times that's happened, and you're still not even getting into the realm past like a couple $1 million. Now take $770,000 million, and that's how much the Pentagon gets every year.
Yeah,
and it just boggles the fucking mind. You're like, how many people could have everything? How many people, not even just American citizens, but people who live in America, regardless of citizenship, who could have everything taken care of so that they could like live the full potential of their lives if we weren't spending this shit on blowing up a Humvee that we gave to, you know, that we basically lost.
Well, then they'd all become genderqueer, neo-Marxist postmodernists, and the American government would hate that, obviously. As a matter of fact, I can't believe that the American government paid you to learn socialism at the socialism school, basically. So
in the capital, in the socialist capital of New York City, where it's nothing but socialism.
Yeah.
So famously, CUNY, where I did grad school, let students pick their pronouns, and I think they let students pick their pronouns as early as like 2014, 2015 for like official correspondence. And of course, the right lost their fucking minds because there's like the gender school where anyone can, they can pick whatever sex they want to be. So literally, the Army paid for me to go to gender school.
God damn.
But
that,
I know,
that sounds
right?
pretty gay, dude.
And now Nate is filled to the brim with gender.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just nonstop gender. That's all I podcast about. But I mean, so I feel like it's weird because in the right wing conception of the world, we should be at odds because you're Hasan Piker who insults our brave heroes and we're, troops. But we come to the same conclusion because it feels like you have to have a financial stake in the situation staying the way that it is to be able to look at it and be like, oh, this is fine. This can stay as is and shouldn't change at all. And that, I feel like we're just up against like this fucking brick wall of disingenuousness.
Yeah. It is. I mean, it is really disingenuous. It just sucks so much, dude. Every part of this is awful. But like the American military is one of the more obvious ways that we really just put young men and women through the grinder and just totally destroy their lives. And also because it's like, there's a lot of white folk that get exploited this way as well. And I think a lot of Republicans that get exploited this way as well. So it's like maybe more obvious to a lot of Americans, or at least should be. So it's shocking to me that no one realizes it, or it's shocking to me that like people just don't want to come to terms with that. I don't know.
And for the record, what we should really hate Hasan for is the fact that he has much better hair than either one of us combined.
Oh, no, I use Propecia. My hairline started receding, and I started losing it a little bit when I first got on Twitch because I was dealing with these fucking edgelords every day, 200 of them at a time. So it really, really took a toll on my body. So I medicate for it.
Well, so I mean, you're of course at the forefront of posting, but you also like see a lot of, I mean, just because of your audience, because of what you do on a daily basis, you've watched the landscape kind of shift, both because of Bernie Sanders and because of just like the fuckery of America getting worse and worse, and because of Trump getting elected.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, like, to me at least, I remember, for example, when Occupy happened. I was in the Army when Occupy happened, and I remember just like the weird vitriol that you would hear from people who were in the military about like, fuck those protesters who are all like college kids and lazy. And then similarly, like people that were involved in protesting, like pretty, I'm not going to say they were like, fuck the troops, but they're pretty dismissive. It seems like some things have changed. And like, obviously, yeah, there's folks who are just like, the kind of third worldists, like who say that we should all be executed. But yeah, that's rare. It seems to me like more people like there's not necessarily a consensus, but there's more of a dialogue happening. And I'm wondering like if you feel the same way because you're like living it every day.
I think that like just like you mentioned, it's just so obvious at this point that if you're even a little intellectually honest, or at the very least intellectually curious, you have to realize that this is just never going to end, right? Like what we needed to be in Afghanistan for 18 years. Like we need to be constantly drone striking 7 countries with special ops in like African nations as well. Like it's not necessary, and people have to realize that. I think it's partially because of that, and mostly because of Bernie Sanders. It's a bit of Donald Trump exposing how awful America is because he's crude, and even though he's rude and he's brash, he's essentially doing the exact same things that any other Republican would have done, right?
Yeah.
And even some Democrats would do, and that's, I think, eye-opening for some people. An accelerationist would argue that that's the reason why America is seeing like a resurgence of socialism. I don't agree. I think it's more so because of Bernie Sanders. There's a person with a very public podium who's able to captivate people and speak calmly and address like the actual glaring material inequalities that we're facing every day in our normal American existence. And I think that has been really eye-opening for a lot of people. Or maybe for some people, it's like, even if it's not eye-opening, they're like, well, why can't we have free college? Like, why can't we have free healthcare? What are we, worse than the French? Like, what is this crazy? We should be able to have at least free healthcare. What are we worse than Canadians? Like, we can't do free healthcare in America? So I think that's the most significant reason why there's this there is a like leftist momentum that you're seeing, and also because it's because it's gone too far.
Capitalism works like at a point in like the early 50s and 60s and whatnot, when like you could have that middle class life by working hard, but you can't do that anymore. Racial disparity and everything else that was hell and horrible in the 50s and 60s aside, also that whole New Deal thing, and then the ultra rich got taxed at like 90%, and we had lots of things, and then like slowly over the course of like 70 years that all got taken away, and now we've just got like Bill Gates as like some nerdy ass dragon sitting on top of a gold pile saying, I had to hang out with Jeff Epstein because he knew people. It's like, you're the richest person in the world. How do you not know people? Just say, I want to know people, and you're fucking Bill Gates. Like, that's what this has all become. And like capitalism, because of how capitalism works, because of the point of capitalism, in which is to make winners and losers, the winners want to win more. And I feel like there's some sort of weird like addiction to money that's happening. And unfortunately, it's not like a drinking addiction where like somebody can be like, hey man, we should have an intervention. You should go to a meeting or something, because like the people who with a money addiction can like fly off to a private island and blow up a third world country or something like that just out of whim, because money equals power. So yeah, Bernie Sanders definitely is the catalyst of my moving hard left, but also it's just once you kind of step back and take a look at it, because even most center libs that I know are just like, I mean, it's dumb that people go into bankruptcy for student loans and Medicare or medical costs and stuff. So like because those things, despite what everybody wants to think, those are not like leftist things. Those are things that just like a normal country should do. Those are things that like that should be the point of government, is to take care of like my roads and my health and my education, and they'll let me do the other things, and then I pay into it with my taxes. Unfortunately, everybody's insane, and no matter what, like even people are going to call Nancy Pelosi a communist, even though she was praising fucking John Bolton earlier today on Twitter. So it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, no, that has been one of the craziest things to watch, is like liberals taking a more militant stance than Donald Trump under certain circumstances. Like, don't get me wrong, Donald Trump is a hypocrite and awful and also incredibly militant as well. He has extended all of the same wars that Barack Obama did, and even in some circumstances more vicious ways. But whenever he says something like, oh, well, maybe we should de-escalate military training or military presence in Korea with respect to the wishes of the South Korean president, and then you have Rachel Maddow screaming, saying like, no, this is like a Russian op, and like we have to be extra militant in that region. Like, what are you, crazy? Or liberals very publicly siding with John Bolton, like and saying that, well, the alternative is chaos. Now that we don't have Bolton, like, no, that's not the horny
the walrus who wants to invade every country. Yeah, I remember Rachel Maddow saying that she was like, this was like meant to be proof of her, good liberal credentials. That she said that she's basically an Eisenhower Republican, and it's like, oh, you mean like when they installed dictatorships in Guatemala and Iran? Like, damn, that's not good. But I want to switch gears really quick on my last question for you, Hasan, because you have been out there in public, not just on Twitch, not just streaming, but also doing events where you've done debates and like discussions with some of like the most incendiary figures, both online and just like in the sort of young conservative establishment. And one of the things that we get asked by our fans, and we've struggled with, and we try to answer, is a lot of folks who like their fellow vets, like guys they served with, or their family members who are veterans, or just their family members in general, have been so Fox Newsified or worse that like they're basically like off the deep end, right wing crazy. And the people ask us like, what can I do to plant the seed to like get them to at least consider, that maybe this is just bullshit. And I know that you're not going to have a catch-all answer, but I'm wondering because like you've gone face to face with the people who are responsible for a lot of the like disingenuous, bad faith, concern trolling kind of like arguments that go out there. What do you think works, or what do you think might be helpful in breaking through?
I think we need to bring the fight to them. Like, I think we need to embarrass them, belittle them, humiliate them, expose them for the frauds that they are, directly to their faces, wherever they may be. If that's going to happen on Fox News, then you got to go to Fox News to do it. If that's going to happen on the internet, you got to go on the internet and do it. You like, I think a problem that leftists especially have is like we understandably hate the internet blood sport debate culture, and I get it. It's not conducive. It's not conducive to a productive conversation. It's not educational in nature. It's just for entertainment for the most part. It can be educational to some respect, but more often than not, the side with better rhetoric wins. Right? Ben Shapiro is like a perfect example of this. But the reality is like we have to push back. Because I think a big chunk of the audience responds to that. Like, the response to that kind of like back and forth conversation. And if they see their champion get absolutely and thoroughly embarrassed and look like a fool and look like they don't know what they're talking about, that way you can destroy their integrity, basically. And I think that's like a starting point for a lot of people. And then aside from that, it's just like talking to individuals, and it's doing agitative propaganda, like showing them, being honest about the Democratic alternative not being as great as the Democrats would want it to be, and then talking about how we can make it better and making our government work for us. So, I don't really have like a perfect solution to this, but it is definitely something I work on every single day. But taking the fight directly to these conservative circles is one way of doing it. Now, there's always going to be like the rule I use is 40-40-20. 40% of my audience is going to be on my side no matter what. 40% of the opposition or 40% of my interlocutor's audience is going to be on his side or her side no matter what. And then there's 20%, some from my end and some from their end, that are on the verge. Like they're not fully invested in whatever ideology they are getting funneled from me or whoever I'm debating. And those 20%, you can move over to your side, especially if you do a good job at thoroughly demolishing your opponent's arguments. And I think, I don't know, I wish we could get better at that. Like, I wish the left would be better at it. It's a little dishonest. You have to be a little dishonest. But I think that's what it would take to start really like showcasing how like how big of a charlatan Ben Shapiro is, for example. And it did happen with like slight pushback. They buckle. With Andrew Neil, for example, when Ben Shapiro went on BBC and a conservative vulture like Andrew Neil asked a couple questions, and he cried like a little baby. Yeah.
And Neil is such a fucking right wing asshole. So like and his arguments couldn't land. Wow. Well, you take the fight to the conservatives. That makes you the biggest troop of them all, Hasan.
Yeah. No. I obviously. Yeah. By the way, I make those jokes as well. Like, oh, braver than the troops. I know. I don't think people realize, like, I don't know. I don't think people know what that humor entails yet. Like, I can't wait till they find like the dirtbag left's like troop disrespect and how frequently the Dirt Bike Life like engages in that, and then they attack like I don't know, they like try to cancel Chapo or something over it.
Yeah, I mean, this is shit. Well, I guess I just would say that because I mean, you know, you have the patience to go through that, knowing that you're going to be into like the bad faith fucking arena, and
Yeah.
I struggle with it sometimes because, like, for me, knowing how disingenuous it is, like, it just angers me. Like, it's like a poison, and it's like trying to breathe underwater, and every part of my body is like, no, fuck this, get out, fuck this, it's bad, because you just know how much bad faith is involved, and so like I really admire that because I struggle with it. Like, dunking is easy, but actually going in and being like, oh no, I'm going to be the respectful opposition voice in this debate. I don't know if I could do that. So. I mean,
yeah, no, it's hard, and I definitely lose my cool quite frequently, and it's not a good look when that happens. But I think it's a necessity. Like someone has to do it. I wish more people would do it. I wish more people would go out of their way to like, respond to these conservative con artists, because they're really dumb. Like they really are. They're not very smart. It doesn't take a lot to like recite talking points that you got delivered to you, hand delivered to you from the American Enterprise or from the Heritage Foundation, and that's literally all Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro are doing as a part of their career. That's why if you debate one conservative, it's like you've debated all of them. Their talking points are exactly the same, which is ironic because they constantly project and say we are the NPCs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, Hasan, thank you so much for making time to be on our show. I know that you have your stream and you're also on the Young Turks. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, cool. Well, we'll link to everything in the show notes for this.
Man, that's awesome. I'm glad you guys are doing this. I'm glad that there are some brave troops out there who are speaking out against the overwhelming amount of like right-wing chud bullshit that you see from veterans. They do give veterans a bad name, those idiots on the internet. So I'm glad that there's someone who's like finally pushing back on that. And I do believe that you guys can be impactful and make a significant change and maybe even start changing the attitudes of veterans so that they can have more tools to fight for their own autonomy and fight for their own agency and fight for their best interests rather than vote for people who don't have their best interests in mind at all.
If you want to,
thanks so much, man.
Yeah, if you want a good book, I always shout it out. But if you want a good book on the absurdity of the current conflicts, "Hooligans of Kandahar" by a friend of the show, Joe Kasabian, is really good. If you ever want to read about just how dumb everything is from the side of a combat troop who turns out to hate the military in the end of it, that's a good one to go with.
Yeah. Will do. I'll take a look at it. I talked to Joe. I talked to him after this the meltdown happened as well. I like him. He's a funny guy.
Yeah, he's a good dude. All right. Well, thank you so much again for being on, Hasan. We really appreciate it, and I look forward to good things from your side.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys.